Farmweek is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, we have two feature stories for you. You've heard about gluten-free foods. Find out why most of the people who buy them don't necessarily need them.
In our Southern Gardening segment today, Gary Bachman shows us some raised beds which are attractive and easily watered.
In our first feature story, Mississippi State University's Edam cheese. It's entered its 76th-year production, and its popularity doesn't show any sign of slowing up.
Professor Herzer had gone to a national dairy conference, and he approached his former teacher and he asked him, says, "What can I do to bring honor to Mississippi State?" And his professor told him, "Make the best Edam cheese possible."
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Amy Taylor. Welcome to Farm Week.
Today it's an all-feature story edition of our show.
Leighton, in our first feature story, we honor a product that's closely identified with Mississippi State University. It's a ball of Edam cheese made by the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station at MSU. This past year, MSU has celebrated 75 years of Edam cheese production. As we enter the 76th year, there's no sign of it slowing up. This story was made by Brian Utley of MSU's Office of Agricultural Communications to honor the 75th anniversary. In 1938, Professor Herzer had gone to a national dairy conference, and he approached his former teacher and he asked him, says, "What can I do to bring honor to Mississippi State?" And his professor told him, "Make the best Edam cheese possible." So Professor Herzer contacted the Vodster brothers in East Holland. He had heard that they had Edam molds, so he ordered 10 molds from them.
I don't think Prof. Herzer had any idea that this was going to be as big as what we have today. He wanted to produce a unique product that was not produced anywhere in the United States, and he was able to do that.
If you look at their careers, the two that had the most impact on it would be Ed Custer and Joe Cardwell. As I said, Prof. Herzer started it, but didn't develop it. Custer was the business person. He was the plant manager type, the business production supervisor, that type quality control supervisor. Whereas Joe Cardwell, Dr. Cardwell, was a cheese person. That was his specialty. He taught the making of the cheese, how it was made, following the correct procedures, seeing that it was done correctly. Mule Folsom was the one that was making the cheese, but those two were the ones that were directing it. He and Cardwell knew what was going on.
Whenever I introduce myself to somebody, I always tell them my name is Henry Folsom, better known as Mule. And the reason I got into the cheese making is because of Tom Owsley. He taught me into coming out here and then taught me how to make the cheese. And did it the rest of my life, you might say.
He was the head cheesemaker. I guess Mule he was in charge of it he was the cheesemaker in '63, and he was a cheesemaker in '86 when I left the first time. He knew what to do at the end of an hour. If the acidity wasn't where it was supposed to be, he knew what to do to get it there. You didn't go into the next step. Anybody can make cheese, but a cheesemaker knows what to do at each one of these steps so that 6 months from now or 9 months from now, you're going to have the product you want. At the time, they were making 2 batches a day, probably about 40 to 50 Edams at a time. So we had a very limited production, and it was during those times, it was very, very status quo to get on the list to be able to buy your cheese. Not everybody could get it. A lot of people didn't stand a chance of getting it.
People would come in just begging and carrying on for the cheese, you know. And we'd have to hold it on order. The ones that had orders would hold it till the 15th of December. And if anybody hadn't come by to pick it up by that time, we'd let it first come, first serve. And the 15th that morning, there'd be people standing in line at the door.
This is a story that goes back when they only had a very limited amount of cheese, and you literally had to get your name on the list. Tom Owsley, who was the manager at that time, was out of town, and he told Mule, said, now, if anybody called over here and wants some cheese, if they don't have an order.
Nobody gets any cheese. I don't care who they are. They don't get any cheese if they're not on this list. And along almost quitting time, about late in the evening, I got a phone call. The fellow says, I need a ball of cheese. And I said, have you got an order? And he says, no, I don't have an order.
He didn't know who he was talking to. He said, well, if you ain't got no order, you ain't got no cheese. So.
He says, I know there's some strings somewhere that I can pull to get me a ball of cheese. And I said, yes, sir, I don't doubt that, but there's none of them tied to me. And he got mad, Lord, he got mad. He said, I'm T.K. Martin, one of the deans. I didn't know who he was. You know, I didn't know T.K. Martin from nobody. But I couldn't help him because I had my orders and I was going to follow them, you know.
If we were sold out and they couldn't get an order, that, you know, they had a mother that was dying and that's all she wanted was the Edam cheese. And some of it probably was correct, but you could, you know, catch on sometime when they were kind of fibbing a little bit. But, and we had some who would get a divorce that had permanent orders. Those cheese orders was part of the divorce agreement, who got their cheese order.
When we moved from the University Florist location over to Herzer back in the 70s, well, we were able to expand production. It seems like the more we produced through the years, the greater the demand has been.
We've been able to use the profit from the university cheese operation to upgrade facilities, to support scholarships, to support a lot of public relations activities. And I guess the cowbell is now the symbol, but the cheese will continue to be a symbol for years to come.
We're very proud of what we're doing and the quality of the product and the huge popularity. We sell our cheese products to all 50 states. And so many people come from all over this state just to get a ball of cheese or one of the many cheese items that we have here.
People that like Mississippi State like products that come from Mississippi State. It's made from the milk that we produce on our own dairy farm. And we think we have expertise in production of this product.
If it were not for the fact that the Edam was the round ball with the red wax and the MSU seal on it, it has a visual impact as well as a culinary impact, and it's just become part of the university.
That's known the world over. We mailed it out. We mailed some to England, Canada, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and people, they loved it. I don't care where they were, and you could call it would, even if it had been $100 a ball, people would still come in wanting it, you know.
The Edam cheese stands for and above any other cheese made anywhere because of the quality of the products that go into the cheese and the love and care that the students have had in learning to make the Edam cheese and to do everything that they need to do to make it a super quality.
We didn't advertise in the papers or, you know, any kind of brochures or anything like that. So it was just word of mouth, really. And people sending people cheese, and then they would turn around and place orders. So that's how it really got spread throughout, you know, the United States.
There's not many places you can't go and ask if they know what an Edam cheese is, and that they will tell you yes they do, and they want it. And I used to tell the people as they said, well, I get those for gifts. And I said, well, the only problem with that is once you give it, they want it, you've got to start giving it to them on a regular basis.
It's a symbol of Mississippi State, and it's not, you know, it's way up there. It gets a lot of publicity for them, and people are aware of it all over the country, and students, they're exposed to this stuff while they're in school, and it's a pride thing that, you know, it makes you proud of what you're representing and the university that you're representing, and the product that you have pleases, you know, that many people.
Our children have seldom ever called this just the Edam cheese. They always would say this is Daddy's cheese or this is Granddaddy's cheese. And as our grandchildren have grown up, and they've always been taken over to the cheese shop, and they know to look up, and that's Granddaddy's name up there. And also there are other things in there relevant to Joe and his teaching here for such a long time.
I love this thing. I could, my family and everything that I've got and everything I've had is caused from that ball right there.
It's who we are at Mississippi State University. And 75 years of production of Edam cheese is an event that is an opportunity for us to celebrate this production, and it's an opportunity for us to say thank you to a lot of people in the past that have made this possible.
Happy 75th anniversary for Edam cheese.
I'd like to wish the Mississippi State Edam cheese operation a very, very happy 75-year anniversary.
Happy 75th anniversary, Edam cheese. I'm so proud to be a part of it.
I want to wish you a happy 75th, and I hope you have another 75 after this, and I'm sure you will. It's been part of my life, and always will be.
I'm Leota Cardwell, and I wish MSU Edam cheese a happy 75th birthday.
Go to our Farm Week website, Facebook page, or YouTube if you'd like to see this story again on Mississippi State University's Edam cheese. We'll also have the telephone number and website where you can order or send Edam cheese or any other product offered by the Maphis Sales Store. The public is welcome to shop at the store on campus in Starkville from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's also open on Saturday and Sunday mornings on home football game weekends.
It's time now for today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. It's about how crazy we are in the United States for tomatoes and tomato products. Our question, how many pounds of tomatoes are eaten per person in the United States? Now this is everything, fresh and canned. So is the answer 55.6 pounds or 86.3 pounds, 92.1 pounds, or 102 pounds? I'll have the answer after today's Southern Gardening segment.
Have you ever wondered how to make your vegetable garden attractive as well as productive? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us how growing in raised beds and adding flowering perennials can help improve your vegetable gardening experience.
There's been a big increase in home vegetable gardens over the last few years. Most homeowners want their gardens to provide healthy food and fit in as an attractive component to the landscape. My friend John's vegetable garden is a perfect example of this landscape integration. The garden is defined by the decorative picket fence and surrounded by a variety of tough and hardy flowering perennials. Early sunrise coreopsis has bright and sunny yellow flowers that contrast well with the tiny blue flower heads of lollipop verbena. Adding to the colorful interest are red and white hot lip salvia and the woolly blue and white flowers of Mexican bush sage. This rustic old bike along the fence serves as a piece of garden art. I really like the fresh herbs that are readily available growing in containers around the outside of the fence. John's vegetable garden is a series of raised beds. The native soil amended with compost and organic matter provides excellent drainage and is a great benefit to the plants. For watering, John has installed a clever and simple irrigation system. PVC pipe is set along the perimeter of the raised beds with 1/8-inch holes drilled about 6 inches apart. When the valve is turned on, the entire bed is watered underneath the foliage, which reduces the chances of leaf diseases. All this work is paid off with exceptional growth. Just look at how these yellow squash are producing, and the green zucchini are not far behind. John has shown us the vegetable garden can be attractive as well as productive. I hope this gives you some ideas to use in your garden this year. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Well, it's time for the answer to today's trivia quiz here on Farm Week. Again, our question was about how many tomatoes we eat per person here in the United States each year. Well, let's look. The answer is 86.3 pounds of fresh and canned tomatoes. This information according to the United States Department of Agriculture, and this was for the year 2011.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have a look at the calendar and one more feature story for you. Gluten-free foods are becoming popular. The majority of them are bought by people who don't need them.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. One cause of these accidents is improper hitching. If a tractor is hitched at any point above the drawbar, it can flip over backwards. Never hitch a tractor using the bar between the 3-point hitch upper and lower links or at the top link attachment point. The stationary drawbar is the only safe location for tractor hitching. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Mississippi State University's annual Cotton Insect Scout schools are about to start up. Continuing education credits are available, and these can help renew your consultant's license. The hours are 9 until 2. June 4th, go to Clay Lyle Entomology Building on campus in Starkville. June 5th, to the MSU Coahoma County Extension Office in Clarksdale. There's no charge. Lunch is provided at the schools. A vegetable field day will be held Thursday, June 12th at the Beaumont Horticulture Unit of Mississippi State University. The day is free and the hours are 8 a.m. to noon. The unit is located on Highway 15 north of Beaumont. Vegetable and muscadine grapes will be covered. Deer control, stevia, and hops production will also be covered. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Our last feature story today on Farm Week is about gluten-free food products. Now, gluten is a naturally occurring protein found in wheat, rye, and barley. For 1% of the United States population, gluten is a problem. They have what is known as celiac disease, an autoimmune condition. It's not a food allergy, but if you have celiac disease, you want to avoid gluten. Now, that's harder than you think. Surprisingly, a vast majority of gluten-free products are bought by those not afflicted with celiac disease. Market to Market's Paul Yeager explains.
Navigating the aisles of a grocery store is an easy task for most shoppers. Meat, dairy, produce, no problem. But for an increasing number of consumers, finding foods that fit their gluten-free diet is difficult. Alex Lemke knows the struggle.
I found out I was celiac several years ago.
She's been gluten-free for several years after being diagnosed with celiac disease, a condition that damages the lining of the small intestine.
The first challenge is realizing that gluten is in so many products that you would have never, ever guessed. So that's frustrating. It just would surprise you where it turns up.
Gluten may seem easy to escape, but it's found in more products than just sliced bread and cereal. It turns up in unexpected items, from salad dressings to taco seasoning, and can even be found in the candy aisle. Emily Galazi knows this all too well. The 17-year-old was recently diagnosed with celiac disease and is the only one of her siblings restricted to a gluten-free diet.
It's really hard because you have to make 2 separate meals and you have to have 2 separate bags of chips, 2 just separate snacks. And it's hard to have breakfast in the morning because if you want toast, you have a different toaster.
Gluten, a protein found in processed foods made from wheat, barley, and rye, has always caused problems for those who suffer from celiac disease. But in recent years, many consumers who do not have celiac disease have also embraced gluten-free diets. A study by Packaged Facts, a leading consumer research firm, found that nearly half of those who buy gluten-free products do so because they perceive the products to be generally healthier. Other consumers use gluten-free foods as a method of weight management or because they think the products are of higher quality.
I have a lot of friends that choose to just follow a wheat-free lifestyle because they feel better, feel like they look better, it helps keep their weight down.
With greater demand for gluten-free products, the industry is booming, growing 28% over the past 4 years, and by the end of 2012, the U.S. market for gluten-free foods is expected to exceed $4 billion annually. Niche gluten-free brands are growing dramatically, and major food manufacturers are catching on, offering classic brands in new gluten-free options. Grocery chains like Midwest giant Hy-Vee are making the gluten-free shopper's trip to the grocery store a little easier. Hy-Vee has seen a 22% company-wide increase in gluten-free product sales in the past 2 years, according to Director of Health and Wellness, Julie McMillan.
So we've expanded these sections by a ton. Generally, we were anywhere from a few hundred items, gluten-free items, and now we're thousands of gluten-free items that we offer our customers.
She says that Hy-Vee listens to its customers to determine what their needs and wants are, even if that means redesigning the store.
We've also gone as far as separating it out for the consumers, so it makes their shopping experience a little easier. They're able to just go to one section in the store and make it a one-stop shop for them.
Each Hy-Vee store has different gluten-free offerings, depending on the demands at varying locations, but labeling is always important.
Over the past couple of years, Hy-Vee's really focused on making it easier for that gluten-free shopper. So we've added shelf talkers that really highlight the products themselves, and then we've pulled out the products from the mainstream line and put them into sections where we call out that specific section. So some things you wouldn't normally think about a gluten-free shopper missing would be like cakes and cookies and brownies. So we put them all into one section where the gluten-free shopper can easily find that chocolate cake that they've been missing out on.
After being told what they cannot eat, Lemke and Galazi say it's refreshing to see so many items they can eat.
They've actually allowed me to live a better, more enjoyable life. It's really easy now to come in and pick up anything I need and make just a normal traditional dish.
You know, they know that the product's safe and it is for sure gluten-free. They're not having to take the time to dissect the label because we're kind of doing that for them. Especially all the brownies and cakes and stuff, so you feel like if it's your birthday, you can just get that, or Christmas, you can just make a pie, so it's easier. It makes you feel better that there's more options.
Packaged Facts estimates that only 10% of consumers purchasing gluten-free items do so because they or another family member have celiac disease. And that is prompting some critics to wonder if the growth in the gluten-free foods is just a fad. But Hy-Vee officials believe the trend is here to stay.
You know, when we see individuals that go on a gluten-free diet and have the results and the benefits, literally they're life-changing. So once they've had that positive impact, they're not gonna change their diet back.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.
You can watch this story on gluten-free on the Farmweek website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farmweek stories on YouTube and Facebook. And we will have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. Again, that's farmweek.msucares.com.
We're at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, fertilizer use and water quality are coming under closer scrutiny each year.
Nitrogen and the Gulf Dead Zone are usually the controversy. In Iowa, the problem is too much nitrogen in the drinking water.
In Southern Gardening, Gary Bachman shows you some ditch flowers. These are flowers grown in the wild, but that doesn't mean that they can't make an appearance in your landscape. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Amy Taylor.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.